Welcome to this section on continuous integration. Before getting started with App Center and the continuous integration capabilities that service provides to us for mobile applications, in this lecture I want to talk about what is continuous integration. And continuous integration is automating builds on every commit. That's it. That is what continuous integration is. So let's change this question to why is continuous integration? Why should we use continuous integration? And the main reason why you should use continuous integration is because it keeps the important branches clean, especially the master branch. We have already talked about how important the master branch is and how that branch should always have a working version of your code. And because of this, you want some security in place so the master branch doesn't suddenly receive some code that is not going to work. And so far, we have already implemented some security, some protection to our branch in the form of reviews. So in one of the repositories that we have worked with, we added some protection to the master branch, and we saw how an additional person needed to review the changes before they were able to be merged inside of the master branch. So continuous integration is going to do precisely that. We're going to have one important branch, in this case, the dev branch. And as developers, we can have many different feature branches. For example, the little feature branch or the big feature branch. This independent of the important branch. And eventually we need to integrate this code back into the dev branch. And that integration is going to happen through pull requests. There is where a continuous integration system will come into play to make sure that everything is working correctly. So, using continuous integration is going to have many benefits. One of them is going to be that larger and larger teams can coordinate better. Because with continuous integration in place, we can be certain that integration of our feature branches into one of the main branches is going to be successful and it's going to happen correctly. So even if there are more and more developers in certain teams, eventually we know that the code, the integrated code that exists in the main branch works. So the coordination between these larger and larger teams can happen seamlessly. We also have, maybe we don't get rid entirely of this thing in here, but at least we'll see it less often. Scenarios where a developer says that it runs on my computer, but it doesn't run on other computers. Continuous integration essentially is going to solve this, at least in most scenarios. Because through that continuous integration process, we are ensuring that our integration builds before it ever reaches the main branch. And these two in here are enabled by additional branch protection. We already have protected one of our branches, the master branch, with reviews, but with continuous integration, we have additional branch protection in the form of making sure that the code actually builds, and we can even add some tests. And this also enables faster feedback loops. And this is going to happen thanks to the fact that we are going to be having many pull requests that trigger the continuous integration process. In those pull requests, other developers can provide feedback and even collaborate with us in making sure that certain feature is working. And so these feedback loops are going to be happening faster and more efficiently, thanks to the fact that the code that we have just added or the feature that we have just created is going to be concentrated in one single pull request. Easier to notice exactly what has changed, easier to test exactly what is happening. As you may start to notice, pull requests are at the heart of continuous integration. Because pull requests are precisely the things that enable continuous integration. It will allow us to do things like easily receive feedback from the team. Directly from the pull request, as I've mentioned, other members of the team can tell you what may be missing on a feature branch that you're trying to merge into one of the main branches. And they can even easily collaborate into one central version control system that has been correctly branched, so they can easily collaborate into that branch to help you get that feature ready. In addition to this, of course, pull requests exist at the heart of a continuous integration process because that is exactly the thing that triggers the process. As soon as there is a pull request and intent to merge some feature branch into a main branch, that continuous integration process begins. The building of that new version of the application. And in addition to building, continuous integration includes tests. This is part of that additional protection to the branches that I was talking about. Now, in the way that the course is structured, tests are actually going to be part of the next section. But you should think of continuous quality, the title of the next section, as part of continuous integration. Because that continuous integration is precisely building your code, but also making sure that it builds in the way that you want it to build. That the tests that are in place are executed correctly, that they are passing. And checking that those tests pass are precisely what will enable you to protect your branches even further. I mentioned in the previous section where we worked with the basics of App Center and we implemented some features of App Center that you could skip the section in some scenarios. If you did, here you can get the source code. All of the things that we worked on in the previous section are available right here. So if you skipped that section, you can get all of that code in that GitHub repository, fork it over to your own GitHub account, clone it locally so you can start working where we left off and start implementing continuous integration as we're going to see throughout this section. We are going to continue building some new features into this application, features that will eventually trigger the continuous integration process. So make sure to get this code so you can continue working where we left off. This is a brief introduction to why is it that you should use continuous integration. Hopefully you already had a sense about the reasons why you should use continuous integration because of what we have been talking about throughout the entire course. So in the next lecture, we're going to start to enable continuous integration on App Center with the help of our GitHub repository.